So this video will continue on from the previous video which discussed justifying the selection of events. But this particular video will focus on the risk management planning, which is all part of the preparation before the event itself. So a risk assessment or risk management plan is important because you want to identify the risks and then you want to eliminate or put forward strategies that will help you to eliminate those risks to ensure a safe event. And we want you to include some first aid strategies in there as well to make sure that people are safe. And again, we want you to go into the Style app and we want you to think about using this particular scaffold here. Now, when you access Style, you'll see that there is a table there and you're free to edit that table. Okay, and it will automatically save and the teacher will be able to see it and give you feedback. So what I've tried to do here is create a very simple table, and I want you to actually type in some risks. Now I'll put some examples in here, but really want you to focus on the risks that you believe are relevant for the carnival. But let's look at one of the risks. Slips and falls. People may be likely to slip and fall around the pool, particularly with a lot of wet surfaces and students potentially walking fast or maybe running when they shouldn't be, and that leads to falls. So we want you to identify them. We want you to think about how likely and how severe these risks could be. So with the likelihood, we want you to think about low, medium, or high. What do you think it would be? And we want you to assess the risk and determine what it is. So for example, for slips and falls, if you explain pretty clearly to the group not to run and to make sure that they stay on the path and they don't do silly things around the edge of the pool, then the likelihood of someone slipping is probably not so high. It's probably medium. Okay, but then you've got to think about how severe it would be if someone did slip or fall, and what are the likely injuries that would happen. People are likely to graze their knee, or they're likely to maybe cut their elbow, or worst case scenario, maybe they slip and they hit their head, and then we might have a potential head injury. They could slip and fall in the pool. These are the outcomes that could happen. With severity, I would think most likely someone would probably slip and maybe graze themselves around the pool. So I would say the severity is pretty low. I mean, if someone grazes themselves, it's not a life-threatening injury. Could be serious, but if we explain the rules correctly, then it's probably medium likelihood. Severity is probably quite low. So now you need to think about what are the risk controls, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that people don't slip. So we need appropriate footwear. Obviously people are going to have no shoes on around the pool when they're about to swim, but if they're not swimming, they should probably have their shoes on. They should have their shoes on, and that might limit slipping. Obviously, no running around the pool area. You might designate some out of bounds areas. Out of bounds areas. Designate out of bounds areas, which might further control it. So there's some risk controls, and then you want to think, okay, what are some of the first aid issues that could occur? So I'm going to say abrasions are pretty likely, lacerations or cuts could be likely as well, and possible head injury, although we said that this is unlikely or less likely. It could happen. And what are the first aid management for abrasion? So we want to clean the abrasion with saline solution, which is just a purified clean solution that will remove any dirt or debris. And we also want to apply a non-stick dressing. We could also apply antiseptic and so on. So these are some of the first aid treatments that we could. So we want you to really think, what would you do if these things happen? So you're fully prepared. You would also manage bleeding. You would rest and maybe elevate if the bleeding was quite severe. Elevate the injured area to slow the bleeding. So that's what we want you to do here. We want you to really identify the risk. How likely and how severe? What are the risk controls? What are you going to do? What strategies will you implement to make sure that the risk is minimized? And we want you to think about first aid issues and how you would manage them. So hopefully that's pretty clear, and we want you to identify further risks and include those different aspects in the table. So you type within the table and the teacher will be able to give you some feedback. So thank you very much for listening to this video. I'm going to move on to the video about section 4 and 5. Thank you.